Well, welcome to the ACE Evaluation Network member webinar. We're going to be discussing the call for new members with you today. Before we get started, our Expanding the Bench team wishes to thank the Center for Evaluation Innovation for hosting today's webinar, and special thanks to Mariah Brophy-Gantz, who's with us online today, helping manage our technology and registration and so forth. A couple of notes about our webinar today. We are recording, so if you want to come back and revisit any of the information we're sharing, you're welcome to do that, as well as share the link with anyone who is unable to attend. Everyone who did register to attend will receive a link of the recording. Your phone lines have been muted, but we do invite you to participate in the chat with any discussion elements from the webinar today, as well as add your questions to the Q&A function, which is another type of chat box that you'll find in your menu. And if you need any tech support, please do email Mariah. You'll find her email there at the bottom of the screen. My name is London Losey, and I am the Project Director for Expanding the Bench's Advancing Culturally Responsive and Equitable Evaluation Network, or ACE Evaluation Network. I am so pleased to have you joining us here today to learn more about our call for new members, as well as the network in general. I would like to invite each of you to also introduce yourselves in the chat. Please share your name, your organization or location, and one reason why you're joining us here today. I'd also like to introduce Carla Mendez, who's the project manager for Expanding the Bench. Carla, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. As Lyndon stated, my name is Carla Mendez. I serve as the project manager for Expanding the Bench, and I have been supporting this initiative for a few years now and helping London today and really every day with the ACE Evaluation Network. So we're super excited to be here today. And I'm starting to see a little bit of a trickle in the chat with introductions. So we invite you to continue to plug in your name, your location, your organization if possible, and again, your reason for why you're joining us today. We're super interested in that. So I'm seeing a few. Please continue to do that. We're excited to see you, Kristen, Celia, and others. Do continue to plug it in. And I think we're ready to move on to our next slide for now as folks continue to chime in. All right, so again, super excited to provide a broad overview of the Expanding the Bench initiative, or ETB for short. ETB is really an initiative that's based on the belief that three things need to happen in order to create a culturally responsive and equitable evaluation ecosystem. The first of which is that we need more evaluators who bring lived experience with marginalization and oppression. We also need more evaluators practicing culturally responsive and equitable evaluation, or CREE for short. And finally, we need a field that is ready to dismantle racist policies, practices, and programs, and intentionally seeks evaluators from diverse backgrounds who practice CREE. So that is the foundation of what ETB is and what we believe in. And to that end, what you see projected here on the screen are our programmatic elements, which include the Advancing Culturally Responsive and Equitable Evaluation, or ACE Evaluation Network, which is what brings us here today, and we'll speak a little more to that in our next slide. We also have the fundraising and field building leg of our work, and this is really a campaign that's centered around increasing the understanding of CREE among funders of evaluation, and to also promote the network of racially and ethnically diverse evaluators who practice CREE, but also to shift the evaluation ecosystem altogether towards a more CREE-centered approach. And then finally, the last leg of our work the Leaders in Equitable Evaluation and Diversity, or LEAD program. And this is a 2-year professional development pathway for racially and ethnically diverse evaluators to further develop their culturally responsive and equitable evaluation practice. So that is ETB in a nutshell. We can move on to the ACE Evaluation Network slide, which is what brings us here today again. And what the ACE Evaluation Network really is a community of racially and ethnically diverse evaluators who have experience in the practice of CREE. And we currently have a network of 82 seasoned CREE evaluators. Our intention with this network is that by creating opportunities to build relationships between network members, funders of evaluation, and other producers and consumers of evaluation, and also by supporting new and different approaches to hiring for and conducting evaluations, that the network would be and is actively contributing to systems change efforts of the broader ETB initiative. So there pictured, you see a few of our ACE Evaluation Network members meeting pre-COVID at the AEA conference. So we really believe that this is a tight-knit community, and we'll share a little bit more about it and how you can engage in future slides. So for now, let's move on to our next slide around what CREE is. So at this point, you've heard me say the word CREE a few times, or culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. So we just wanted to pause and state that as we embarked on this work, the ETB team considered how we were defining culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. And we engaged various stakeholders in this conversation, and our team drew from other definitions in the field to develop a working definition of our work. So if you are curious at all about that definition and want to learn more, I am copying here and putting in the chat a direct link to our definition, and hopefully that opens well. Let me know if you have any trouble opening that link. And we invite you to learn and explore, and let us know if you have any questions. So that, I think, would bring us to our next slide, which I'll hand off to London.
Great, thanks so much, Carla. So for the rest of the webinar, we'll focus on the network itself, the benefits that network membership brings, as well as our call for new members, our application process, and a timeline for it. We also want to make sure we're addressing any of your questions. So if you do have questions about our call for new members or the network in general, again, please do add those to the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So let's talk about why join the network. What are some of the benefits? The network comes with a number of benefits. The first, it's free. Membership is free and includes all of the following things that you see on your screen here, as well as likely others that we haven't completely listed. But one of the great benefits that comes with ACE Evaluation Network membership is access to evaluation funding and career opportunities, sometimes on an early or exclusive basis. Oftentimes we have evaluation funders that come to us seeking a particular expertise and desiring a focus in CREE in evaluators' practice. They may share an RFP or RFQ with us that is intended only for eyes of ACE Evaluation Network members, or that they might want to give a little heads up for. And so they may share it with us in advance of a larger audience. And so that's one benefit that members are privy to. Another is the opportunity to promote your evaluation expertise and experience on our ACE Evaluation Network database. as well as through our e-newsletters and social media sites. We regularly promote evaluators' expertise based on the work that they're doing. We've had evaluators contribute to blog posts. We've worked with different evaluators around proposals for conferences and so forth. So those are some examples of things we've been doing. And in terms of the database, we launched that about a year ago. And it's really an opportunity for people to share a profile like they might on LinkedIn, a professional profile that includes information about their expertise, their skill sets, their methodologies, as well as if they desire a copy of their resume and a work sample, so that evaluation partners and funders of evaluation can create accounts on the database and search for new partners to work with. We will be conducting a second webinar in this series on the database itself in November, so please do consider joining that as well. Another benefit of the network are building peer connections. We host many virtual events right now, but also some in-person ones that really provide space and time for peers to connect, as well as connect with other people in our broader audience, such as those of funders of evaluation and other evaluation partners or allies in this work. And so some examples include some virtual networking sessions that we've hosted, a community of practice that we host, an annual event or gathering that's typically done in person, and aligns with the AEA conference, American Evaluation Association, but this year we'll be doing it online, and other learning opportunities and networking opportunities as well. And speaking of learning opportunities, we offer some professional development. I just mentioned the community of practice. We are also in the process of developing a CREE learning series that will roll out in January and will include some subject matter expertise from people who are part of our ETB community as well as others, and really is intended to help engage and foster a shared understanding of CREE. We also support expanding work portfolios of our members through different recruitment and product development efforts, some of which I've just listed. And there are also opportunities for members to become part of our other efforts under expanding the bench, such as becoming mentors or advisors for the Leaders in Equitable Evaluation and Diversity program that Carla mentioned earlier. So when it comes to the network membership itself, we have 5 membership criteria that really exist to help create that expertise that we support around CREE, as well as support racial and ethnic diversity in the field and in the network itself. So in terms of our criteria, you see them here listed here on the screen. The ACE Evaluation Network is open to experienced evaluators who identify as racially and/or ethnically diverse. As such, the network is not currently open to white evaluators whose race and ethnicity are well represented in the evaluation workforce and practice. The network is open to evaluators who identify as biracial or multiracial and include white as part of their identity. Similarly, the network is open to evaluators who identify as white and Hispanic or Latinx. We also require that evaluators have 7 years or more of paid evaluation experience. And this includes working in a key or lead role as a principal investigator, project director, project lead on a minimum of 3 evaluation projects. I went out of order on the slide here. But another requirement is that evaluators reside within the United States or a territory of the United States or on sovereign tribal land within US borders. The network is not currently accepting applications from evaluators who live outside of the US states or territories or who live outside of on tribal land outside of US borders. And the reason for this at this time is really that the majority of funding opportunities that come to us are based within the United States. We are hearing increased interest on funding opportunities outside of the US, as well as funders who are interested in people who work globally. However, at this time, it's not reflected in our membership criteria, mainly because those opportunities aren't available at this time for members. And a fourth requirement is that people applying to the network have some knowledge and practice of culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. That is a strong component of our application and one we'll describe a little bit further in a few moments. And then anyone applying to the network also have high quality writing and reporting skills. This includes the ability to communicate evaluation processes and findings to multiple audiences, and is something that is scored within the application itself. So we'll walk through the application here and talk about some of the main components of the application as listed here on the screen. First, if someone were to log onto our site, the Become the Member page on the Expanding the Bench website that was linked on that previous slide, you would come to our application itself. And on the application, one of the first things an applicant would see is a pre-screen. And that pre-screen helps determine if someone is eligible to complete an application based on whether or not they meet the criteria I just reviewed. The next piece of the application is focused on demographics of the applicant, asking them to share some background information on their racial and ethnic identity, their gender identity, where they live, where they practice, and so forth. Many of those components are optional to report on, but if they are reported on and the person is accepted into the network, a lot of that information feeds into the database profile that they would hold as a member. The demographic information section also includes a short biography that evaluators are asked to complete to describe themselves and share a cultural introduction of themselves and introduction of their work. The third section is focused on evaluation capacity, availability, and experience. Here, applicants are asked to share their resume as well as a work sample and complete a checkoff list of different methodological skills and experience that apply to their work in evaluation. Probably one of the most critical sections of the application focuses on CREE. In this section, applicants are asked to share why they are interested in joining the network, as well as some components of their CREE practice. In specific, we ask folks to share why they believe CREE is important, to share how they approach CREE in their own work, including 2 to 3 action steps that they take that demonstrate CREE, and then also a detailed project description that highlights their experience and application of CREE in that project. We ask that evaluators who are applying to the network please share references with us, and that reference should be able to speak to one's CREE experience, and that we also ask for any referrals people may have for others who may be interested in joining the network or engaging in our LEAD program as potential scholars. And then lastly, we ask that applicants acknowledge the guiding principles of our network that really refer to commitments that people might make in terms of adhering to, responding to different funding opportunities, attending events, supporting outreach efforts potentially, and really practicing evaluation with a CREE approach and lens. So what you see here is our timeline for the application. The application opened October 6th. We do have an FAQ document on our website, again on the Become a Member page of the Expanding the Bench website, that we will be updating after October 26th. So that is the last day that people can submit applications questions specific to the application to us, and we will update that FAQ shortly after that. The application period itself closes on November 15th. And then our review team will come together and review applications from November to early to mid-December. By mid-December, our team will notify applicants of their status, and in January, we will host a webinar for all new members. So that is the call for new members in a nutshell. There is, again, very detailed information on our website about the call. And the various requirements and components of the application. There you will also find, again, the frequently asked question page and an application guide intended to support applicants' assembly of the application. It is lengthy, so we do recommend that people start the application in advance to pull together all of those important pieces like your resume, your work sample, and your narrative responses to the CREE questions, as well as your references. So with that, we would love to take any of your questions around the network or the application itself. And I don't know if I'm seeing any in the Q&A box, but I do see some coming through the chat.
Yeah, I actually see one that reads, how are you defining evaluation projects? Are you able to count research projects within higher education? So we do require paid evaluation experience to count towards that 7-year requirement. And in relation to research experience, we do recognize that there is some overlap of skills required for both research and evaluation work. But for the purpose of network membership, ETB doesn't count research experience toward the 7-year minimum of paid evaluation experience. So if you can distinguish that, that would be most helpful in your application, and there's certainly space to do that in addition to our open-ended questions where you can elaborate a bit more in relation to your experience. Lyndon, would you add anything to that?
Nope, that's perfect, Carla. Thank you. All right, we just got another question. Has an evaluation been done on the network in terms of the added value to network members? Expanding the Bench recently developed our theory of change and have a long list of indicators that we are using to evaluate impact and outcomes for not just network members, but Expanding the Bench as a whole, and certainly the network is part of that. So it is underway, and I don't think we have a lot of data to share at this point. However, we do annual surveys of our network members that typically have a response rate of about 30%. From that, we can share that about half are responding to different funding opportunities that come through the network, and about another 30 to 40% are successfully winning those opportunities, which is a pretty good success rate. So that's some preliminary data that we have, and we do have a report on our 2019 annual survey that we are happy to share if interested. If you are interested in that report, please do email us at team@expandingthebench.org. Any other questions?
I don't see other questions, but oh, we just got another one. And before I answer that, I just want to express that in everybody's chat introductions, there seems to be a common thread of wanting to know more about what CREE is and wanting to integrate it and embed it and consult with diverse evaluators, or they are diverse evaluators and they want to know more about the network. And so to that end, this call for new members is really something you should apply to if you are a diverse evaluator and you meet those eligibility criteria. And if you're not, we welcome and invite and hope that you would share this opportunity with others in your network. So I just wanted to make that quick plug. And it looks like the other question that we just received is how many members are currently part of the network and how many new members will be accepted? So to answer your first question, we have 82 seasoned evaluators who make up our ACE evaluation network currently. And how many new members will be accepted? As many as are eligible and are interested. So we're looking to go through those applications with a few external reviewers who are actually current members of our network. So they will have some buy-in and be able to discuss the applicants with us a little further, and we'll be making those decisions a little later in the fall. And then we have another question just come in. Lyndon, do you want to field that one?
Yeah, and to add to Carla's response to the previous question there, applicants are required to score a 70% on their application. The CREE section that I described earlier is weighted the heaviest. And so again, that really is an important section in the application and something we screen very heavily for membership. Okay, so another question here is the application requests a lot of information. Can you please speak to how that information is used and why such a rigorous process is being used? How is this network different to, say, an AEA or other professional app association? Wow, what a great question. There's a lot to this, so let's see if we can answer it in some pieces. The first part of the question is, why is the application so detailed and what are we doing with that information? Much of the application was designed to feed into the database profile of a selected member. And so while a member may opt in or out of some of those fields for their database profile, it reduces the amount of information we need to collect from someone in duplicacy. And so that way we're able to get it up front, and if they're accepted, it feeds into their database profile. And those components of the database profile were selected based on things that we heard of interest from people who are looking to partner with evaluators, from funders of evaluation, as well as our network members themselves in terms of what they wanted to highlight around their work and what they felt was important to really support within that profile. So those are some of the kind of demographic and other pieces of the application, and part of the reason why it is so detailed, though a lot of it is kind of just short fill-in-the-blank responses or check boxes, with the exception of that CREE section, which is a narrative section. The other reason why it is kind of lengthy and why we really have some rigor in the process is because we are supporting a vetting process of these evaluators that come into the network, because we're really supporting the practice of culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. And so for us to be able to truly say that this is something that is practiced within the network, this is a reason why we need to have some of that vetting take place. And then for the final part of that question, how are we different from AEA? This network is really about supporting the needs and accessibility and opportunities for racially and ethnically diverse evaluators who are mid to advanced level in their evaluation practice. And so it's very focused on that specific group of people, and how we're hoping to, by supporting them, we're starting to break down some of those social justice barriers that have existed for those community in the evaluation ecosystem in the past. Anything you would add there, Carla?
No, but I want to acknowledge that we got two other questions. I answered one in the chat, and then the second one I was just plugging an answer to in relation to how and what opportunities do we have for folks who do identify as white but want to grow in culturally responsive and equitable evaluation practices. And I was just going to encourage Amy to please sign up to our monthly e-newsletter. I'm just typing it in the chat now with a direct link for her and anyone else who might be interested in signing up to receive those updates. We welcome you to go ahead, sign up, and receive updates in relation to events and other activities we might be doing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, everyone, we are at time, so really want to thank you for joining us today and encourage you to apply if you meet our membership criteria. We look forward to reviewing your application. And if you have any more questions, please do reach out to us at team@expandingthebench.org. And you can learn more about this and other opportunities on our website listed on the screen here. Thank you so much and have a great day.